Welcome back to High Gain Guitar Academy. My name is Neil, and today we're going to talk about getting out of your comfort zone. Now, if you're a musician, which I guess you're probably a musician because you're here, you've probably been in a rut, or maybe you are currently and you're looking for a way to kind of jumpstart your playing or your learning, because we all get in a position sometimes where we feel like we're not progressing like we want to, and sometimes it takes fresh perspective. It's always good to, listen to new music, talk to other musicians, go to live concerts and see people play. Those things can seriously jumpstart our playing in a way that we had never thought possible, especially when we see somebody do things in a way we've never done it. Obviously trying new things is important to getting out of that rut. If you eat the same food every day, you're going to get really tired of it. Try some new food. So that's what we're going to do. And also recognizing our strengths and weaknesses. Look, sometimes we got to be real with ourselves and shine a harsh flashlight on the holes in our Swiss cheese, right? We got to be like, man, I'm not good at that technique. I really like the sound of it, so I want to work on that. I don't look at every guitar technique and think I need to practice at that, because I'm not into every guitar technique. If it's something that I like and I want to improve on, then I will dedicate myself to it. And we have plenty of resources. I mean, that's why I'm here. There's plenty of videos and other, like I said, other bands and musicians out there that we can kind of draw from, okay? So let's start by identifying what it is that we need to improve on, okay? So sometimes what we need to improve on is just the way we practice. When we first sit down and pick up our guitar, it's really common for us to just play whatever we're comfortable with, whatever we've played a million times, whatever we already kind of know. We're not applying ourselves to something new. So I think that's fine a little bit, right? Just play whatever you're comfortable with, but you're never gonna break new ground that way. So before I try to play anything, I will do this. I will take my fingers, put them on the guitar neck in the weirdest order and weirdest shape that I would never typically play, and just strum a chord. Just try something and see if it spawns some sort of new idea that I would never have thought of. So I'm just gonna grab some random shape here. Now look, half the time it's gonna, probably more than half the time, it's gonna sound terrible. But try it a few times. Put your fingers in some weird new shape and see what happens. Let's try this. Okay, that's not something I would usually do. But there's something there. That's kind of a cool sound, It's not something I'm comfortable with. I've never really done that shape much enough to, make it a regular part of my playing. So right there, that has unlocked a new idea, something to play from. So forcing yourself into a new neural pathway sometimes is what it takes. Also experimenting with how you would approach certain notes. Like maybe instead of just fretting notes, maybe try different techniques that you wouldn't do in a certain spot. Try sliding more or bending more. I know those things seem simple, but when you change how you typically do things, then you're gonna start to break new ground. Another thing that we can do is try playing something that you're really good at and identify those strengths. Okay, what am I really killing it at? What am I doing well? Take those things and look for other songs and artists that do a lot of that type of thing and learn those songs. And the reason I'm telling you to take something that you're already good at and looking for more ways to do that is because those players, they're also going to have some things you haven't done. So you're going to feel comfortable going into that, knowing that you have some strengths that mirror this other player. But then when you get into the things they do that you don't typically do, you're already going to kind of be in that mindset of like, I know what I'm doing here, and you'll be able to use your strengths to sort of push you through the new things, okay? Again, seems kind of dumb, but like, confidence is a big factor in this. If you believe that you can do it, then you can do it, okay? And that's what got us where we are so far. If you're an intermediate to advanced player, you've already overcome a lot of obstacles, okay? So going into a situation feeling like, I've got half of this down, that makes you feel like you're already halfway there. So the rest is going to be a little bit more accessible, and it's going to cut down on the things you feel like you have to, spend hours learning, like if the whole song is like, I have no idea how to do this, it's a bit overwhelming. So finding something that it's just maybe a few sections of that's more accessible starting out. Now, once you start working on those weaknesses, don't feel like you have to practice these things for speed. I rarely practice for speed specifically. I practice for technique and accuracy. I do something slow until I kind of get the swing of it, but then as you get better at it, you will just get faster, you know? It's like when you first started riding a bike, at first you're very slow and tentative, right? But as you get better at it and more confident, you just start to ride faster. You don't have to think about it, you just do it. So don't worry about doing these things fast. Worry about doing them consistently and properly, and then the rest will come. Sometimes when you're trying to learn a new technique, you might find another alternate creative route within that attempt at being more creative. I know it's redundant, right? But check it out. If I'm trying to learn how to sweep pick or something that I feel like I'm not as good at as I want to be, I might stumble across a new lick or a new shape or another new technique that I wouldn't have typically done. So yes, I'm trying to learn sweep picking, but I've also unlocked this other pathway into a new technique alongside of that. So these things can be multifaceted. You're not just learning how to do one thing. You're opening a whole new potential of categories here. So keep that in mind too. Sometimes the creativity and getting out of your rut can be your gear. It can be gear related, playing something that you don't typically play on a piece of equipment you don't typically use. That's not usually your thing. Sometimes maybe it's an alternate tuning. Maybe you tune your guitar, like this guitar is tuned a half step down. It's 1 fret lower than a typical standard tuning. Also, this is a 7-string guitar. Most guitars have 6 strings. This one's got an extra low string. So that right there was like picking up an instrument I'd never played before. It took me a while to kind of get used to it. And now it's really kind of opened up a whole new realm of ideas to me, like especially with this lower string. It's tuned down pretty far, and it kind of made me have some ideas to play like this kind of stuff. I would never typically write a song in that key, but because I have this instrument with this extra string and it's kind of a new prospect, I'm able to write these things that are a little different than a typical 6-string guitar. So sometimes the gear can make a big difference too. Trying new guitars, trying new amps, new effects pedals. I mean, the possibilities are really pretty limitless, except for your cash flow. That's gonna have an impact on it. But try buying used things too. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, I'm just saying whatever you need to do to keep yourself creative and experimenting, that's what you should do. Sometimes just taking licks and riffs that you already are comfortable with, but then just changing the shape of it a little bit can be a big difference. Like let's say I'm used to doing, and I feel really good at that shape, right? But what if I changed it up and I did like a slightly different shape, same technique, but a different shape, right? That might open up a new idea for me, like, oh, I've never really thought about coming at it that way. Or maybe instead of on the high strings, I start doing it on the lower strings, right? Whatever it is that kind of pushes you out of what you would typically do. I think you guys are getting the point, right? Just do something differently. If you want different results, do something differently. Inspire yourself. Look for different players. Dig in and learn how to play someone else's song that you like the sound of that sounds completely different than how you sound. You can also do what I was saying earlier and find a guitarist that's maybe similar to what you do, but has a couple new ideas. That might be a little more accessible and less overwhelming. Whatever it is, it's gonna take practice, it's gonna take time, it's gonna take effort. But the creative thing, that drives you, that passion for music that makes you wanna do this, that's what makes it seem less like work and more like fun, right? So in order to keep wanting to do this, I think you have to keep challenging yourself and getting out of your comfort zone. So take it for what it's worth. It's gotten me this far, and I think it'll do the same for you. See you soon.